Hi, everybody. Alright, I wanted to give you guys the lowdown when I heard it. After the events last night, FBI and other law enforcement supposedly have surrounded the Malheur Wildlife Refuge, and an unknown number of militia and other patriots, protesters, among others, are held up and still inside the complex. I don't have any real idea as to whether or not people are able to walk around freely, go outside, look around, this and that. But everybody and anybody is basically calling and saying, to the feds and the locals, please don't follow orders to do Waco. Don't do Ruby Ridge. Come on, guys. You don't want to do this. This is not the 90s anymore. There's going to be serious this and that. And I don't know the situation on the inside. There could be 6 guys. There could be 60. All I know is that there are provisions each day that this does go on. Basically, are less and less since they have cut off the roads. They have done roadblocks and various other things. And I'll get into the story that I found on that, along with several others that are kind of confirming this. I wanted to show this on Google Maps so that I could basically have the ability to just move around the map and show you what this place looks like if in case, something does develop. This is from Google Maps. This is not live, so you're not seeing anything that's going on that, you and I or anybody else would want to see. This is just when it's open and everything. There's tons of things going on here. So this is actually quite a big area to even amass an assault on. According to this, the address is 36391 Sod House Lane, Princeton, Oregon, 97721. It has the fishandwildlifeservice.gov for their general website. Lists the phone number, which I imagine at this point is offline due to the standoff and everything going on. But I wanted to show you this so that everybody understands that this is going to end soon. I guarantee you, folks. I did not support the taking of the federal building, but I don't know if people have walked off. I imagine 1 or 2 by now have. But when they said that the man had been killed last night, I knew that things were going very south. Finisum, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. I believe he was the guy that on the video when they took the cameras down. Oop, my bad. In the video when they took the cameras down, he was the guy that was, I believe, saying, this is what your tax dollars pay for, look at this. And so maybe I'm not going to even vet anything because they did kill him, and oddly enough, Ryan is supposedly wounded, and Amin basically, was arrested, and that was that, along with 2 or 3 other people in the group. So I've seen this from several sources. You can go on our America 2.0 website or Facebook page, and you can see all the sources we gathered throughout the day. There's every story you can imagine, folks. And there was even one saying that these guys that were held up here were going to go and amass a raid to go get Amin and Ryan back, along with the others. And it was only about, I'd say, 1:30 EST that I found out that the compound had actually been surrounded, and now basically everybody's being held up. Now, I don't know if a car does, is if someone does get into a vehicle and leave, if they are going to be arrested on site, or if they do have permission to leave. I do not know what the FBI and locals are thinking at this point. Personally, I would want the lesser body count. The ones that can leave, I would allow them to leave. Even if you were going to go in there and Waco the place, I would let them leave. I would say you have... Oh, first off, I would never do a Waco. I told you exactly what I would do. And even though it would have been against the Geneva Convention, I would have gone over with like I said, a B-52 or a big bomber, and I would have picked out the open areas of the land, and I would drop sandbags of like sleeping powder, and I would have made sure that when the wind came, whatever direction it was in, that stuff basically went into the area where these guys were at, so they would be all drowsy and going to sleep. Then you go in with gas masks and just make arrests, and when they basically come to, they're sitting in a holding cell. No shots fired, and half of them get to go home because no shots were fired. That's what I would have done. I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. I will confirm that is, if I was given ground team support on this, that is exactly what I would do. Nothing more, nothing less. You may get a few people who would still draw and fire, but the situation for the most part would be contained. Folks, I told you that in the beginning I did not feel that this was going to end in a Waco, and I did say that. And what I was referring to, folks, is when the leadership was there. Because I still believe that the Bundys are somehow kind of cooperative, involved in this, and the very fact that they're still alive, for one thing, means a long list of things. I don't want to say that they're insiders, because I know that's probably not true. But the very fact is, I don't see this thing going well from now on. I think they are going to storm the compound. I guarantee it. I almost guarantee it at this point. I don't want to see it. I don't want to be on record for saying it, but I did say it. I think that these guys probably have seen their last days. Everybody and anybody, Oath Keepers, I have the sources, so don't even worry about it when I speak, and I can't name the names. I have the sources, and I'll go through them, and I'll tell you who said what and everything. But the guys that supposedly came there with like 12 trucks of armed guys, the National Patriot Network or whatever it was, those guys, along with Oath Keepers and others, are, pleading with supposedly pleading with everybody not to do a Waco, not to do this, not to do that. And, it's nice and everything, but the reality is the reality. And the reality is, I think these guys are dead. I don't think they're going to be alive in 48 hours, folks. There's been reports that, a couple of the feds have been sneaking around trying to look at things, and warning shots have been fired, supposedly, but you're always going to hear that. Everything else, folks, I mean, whatever story you want to front, that's fine. But it is almost at a point where this is going to be, at a point where this goes south. So, when this goes south, folks, I'm not going to say civil war, but I know patriot groups are going to get together. I'm going to try to do my own, not to get involved as much as possible, but if shit hits the fan, no matter where you are, folks, it's going to hit the fan. And it doesn't matter what you believe after that happened. If they take this compound by force, I guarantee you that there are going to be enough groups of people. It's not going to be safe to go in your area to your local police station. It's not going to be safe to go to the hospital or any major public building because of either the psyops going on, or the actual guys that are doing this or doing that. And I'm not trying to get involved in any of that. I'm just trying to provide you with the information. This is my story that I heard right here. Okay, yes, okay, good. So this is coming from Coin 6, home of the Super Bowl 50. This is talking about they kill Lavoy Finicum. So this is actually pretty good. This is the one that says that they're held up and that they basically cut them off of all the resources. So it's only a matter of days before they starve to death or something. And day 3 or day 4 is probably when they go in on Waco with the place. So it is what it is, folks.
Days after militants took control of the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge, the situation has changed significantly.
One person is dead, at least 8 people are in custody, and the remaining members of the militia are still holed up in buildings on that refuge.
All right, so here's what we pieced together about what has happened. Some 13 hours ago, federal officials descended on a convoy carrying several members of the militia on a desolate chunk of Highway 395. It was between Burns and John Day. Well, just after 5 yesterday afternoon, shots were fired.
They ambushed him.
Check, that highway is still closed.
Coin 6 has learned that this man, Lavoy Finicum, the public face and de facto spokesperson for the militia, was killed. Several other people, including leader Ammon Bundy, were arrested. Brent Weisberg will join us from the federal court.
All right, guys, you guys get the idea here. We come over here to Oath Keepers. And I think this is probably the biggest here. Oath Keepers is warning them, do not follow orders to Waco Ammon Bundy occupation or risk civil war. People are just kind of pissed off and tired, man. You can read into this as much as you want, folks. You can go into this as much as you want. I'm just going to go through it so you can see the keywords. Basically, folks, what this is telling you is that there are veterans who have done the... okay, there's 2 of these then. I don't need this one. There are veterans who have, done the special ops stuff, will know how to do, all the other stuff. And basically, if push comes to shove, they're not, they're not against their own stuff to come out of retirement to handle what's been going on and do what probably at this point needs to be done. And so this is huge. I don't know what's going on, folks, as far as the insiders. I looked online. Blaine Cooper, others, most of those guys that were putting out the stuff on the lube and everything are silent. I don't know how many of those guys are actually there, how many of them hightailed after Ammon and the rest were captured. But you did hear the news. They called it an armed, whatever it was, and they called the 2 or 3 vehicles a convoy. So they're already treating this as if it was no longer a criminal matter, but it is now an occupation, and that is what they called it. So I don't know how you guys feel, but I almost guarantee you these guys are dead now. Once the leaders are gone, I guarantee you it. There's supposedly drones overhead on Bundy Ranch property, and you hear all sorts of things after that. That Cliven took shots at the drone, and that all this other stuff, and So, even if you go into the John Teeter story, folks, you're going to hear and see, and I wish I had a good source for you, but even they said that, the Civil War in that time, depending on whether or not you believe it was mythology or somebody telling stories or the real thing, was started because of farmers in Texas and other places that came together for land rights and things like that, and the government was doing things like that. And I remember a thicker story being something similar to this, and they basically held up on a property, and then that's when all hell broke loose. But I don't want to be telling you guys ghost stories. You don't deserve that treatment, and I don't deserve to be, talking like that. But it does seem like they will not be, going out tonight and revenging and, going out and rescuing Amin and Ryan at this point. Unless, of course, absolute hits the fan, and, at that point, everybody and anybody, like I said, if that actually happens, if anybody stages that, anybody does anything, it's going to be a matter of minutes to hours. This is not going to last all night. I mean, this is a big compound, but I guarantee you the FBI and Leos have RPGs and stuff. I guarantee you they're just going to shoot into the compound, breach the doors with explosives, go in, and their orders are probably to kill everything that is alive. And I have no words for that. At that point, those men who do those things are no longer honorable men and should resign from their post. Then again, if these guys wanted to leave when they heard that their leaders got caught up in it, they could have left. They did not leave. So I'm sure some of them have already called their families and told them they love them, said they're sorry for anything, they might have done, this and that. But that, this has to happen, or they believe this has to happen. And, they're cut off, and at this point, they probably believe if they get in their vehicles and try to leave, they're probably going to be killed. They're probably going to stage some kind of situation like they did with Farrakhan, and they're going to probably be killed. I don't think that, but at this point, I don't see these guys surviving. I don't see the majority of these guys surviving. So, I guess the only thing you guys can do is pray tonight, boys and girls. Everybody else listening. Remember, those FBI negotiators, those other guys there, they're not there for the Constitution, folks. They're there to end the crisis. In handcuffs or body bags, they get paid either way. And they get paid higher if they got to do a shootout, because they get what do they call it? There's a special word I heard. One of my Leo buddies told me a special word they get. It's very similar to combat pay, but it isn't hazard pay. It's something in the middle. But basically, those guys that are sitting there on the sidelines, those guys are getting like 4 or 5 times their salary right now if something does go down. So, and that would be for like the entire assignment that they've been on. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. You guys can actually let me know. I actually would love to know. That's kind of my thing, is kind of stats and figures and data management and stuff like that. That's why I love doing these videos. So I'm going to let you guys handle this. I thought if I brought you, at least the Google site, everybody would be happy. I really do fear for the lives of everybody left in that compound. I really do. I don't know if Blaine's there. I don't know who is and who isn't. I don't know how many of them hightailed it when Amin got out or got arrested. So hopefully you guys can spread this like wildfire, because I wondered what was going on and I could only find one or two sources that would tell me. So spread this around, folks. Thank you, guys. Please, these men and these women, folks, because I got a funny feeling that tomorrow we're going to wake up and hear some really shitty news. And then that's going to lead to a whole bunch more shitty news.